Welcome to the show. Mad Max Radio Live 265, iHeartRadio. Amanda Wyss is here. A Nightmare on Elm Street, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, The Id, Black Magic Woman. We're going to get into a lot here tonight. So, how's everything going?
Thank you for having me. Everything is good. Um, yeah, everything is good.
I'm
Everything is
happy to
good.
hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
Enjoying the Halloween season already?
I am. We're fully decorated. I have some nieces coming over tomorrow, and I'm making like a little Halloween gathering for them. And yeah, so we're in full swing here, full swing. We even have a Freddy hanging on the slider, scaring people as they go by. So
Wow. Is it like animated too? It's like an animated Freddy?
no,
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 it's
it's like
just
a curtain. It's like
Oh,
a
it's just a
curtain.
curtain. I know they make those too. I've seen those. This is your season here with October, and we're gonna get into all your work growing up around in the LA area, Manhattan Beach, right around from LAX, and the whole space of things. Is it true that it was your sister who inspired you to get into the whole acting space because she was taking theater classes at UCLA?
Yes, she got her degree, her undergrad degree is theater arts, and she right after she graduated UCLA, she got a play in New York, called All Wilderness, and I just remember thinking that, and I was just in awe of my sister anyway, and I just thought, oh my gosh, she's she's like on stage in this amazing city. And so when she came back, she did a play locally in LA, and I went, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, I want to do this. And weirdly, the artistic director of that theater was talking to my sister after the show I happened to be at, and he said, next season we're doing The Innocents, which is a William Inge play and it's super creepy. And he said, and it's a little girl, like little, and I think I was 11 at the time, but I looked like I was like 7. I was very young looking. And he said, do you have any desire to come and audition for that when we put it up? And I said, yes. And I got it. So that's how it started. And then the following year, that same theater did The Bad Seed.
Mhm.
And I auditioned for that and got that too. But that's all because of my sister working at that theater in Los Angeles. And, you know, so yeah.
I know you and Robert share a passion and love for the theater, especially with you taking theater classes, but there were some issues there with Black Magic Woman with the director because she had a theater background. So was there some issues in which you had to really learn that there were two types of acting and what would translate to film from the theater world?
Yes. Well, it's interesting that you say that because when I first started auditioning, I started doing commercials when I was like, I don't know, 14 or 15.
Pepsi.
And yes, thank you. And okay, you're so good. Um I did I commercials are much more animated, so I think my theatricality suited those things. And then when I started auditioning theatrically for episodic TV and TV movies, I was still in high school, and the feedback was always like, "We really like her, but she's just too animated." Like I didn't, even though I watched a ton of movies and I really saw how all the actors I admired, yeah, I mean, I love their performances, but I hadn't put it together. It was their stillness in front of the camera where they were was in their eyes and in their intention. And so it took me a minute to figure that out, but with a lot of not great feedback until I realized, until I found my comfortableness with stillness.
Hmm. Was it your role as Rhoda that really confirmed that you belonged here, especially with the critic that your father heard that they wouldn't let you in the house? Was it that really confirmed you to be in this lane?
Yes. So if people don't know the story, my dad was sitting in the theater watching me one night. He came often because somebody had to drive me. I was a little kid. Um, but he happened to be sitting behind the theater reviewer from the LA Times, and he had leaned over to somebody, the reviewer, and said, "I wouldn't let that little bitch in my house for all the money in the world." And so my dad went. guess she's doing a good job. And but I always thought that was funny. Obviously, he didn't tell me that story till I was much older because I don't
Okay.
think I would have known what to do with it. But I always thought that was so funny. I was like, that's a good review for Rhoda from the bad seed.
Did you watch the original movie beforehand before getting the role?
I didn't because the director asked me not to.
Oh, okay.
And because I was so little, I think I was only in the eighth grade at that point,
Wow.
maybe the
Mhm.
seventh grade. I was just very much whatever he said, like well, I was slow to learn my lines during rehearsal. I just, was just new at learning. I mean, Rhoda just talks nonstop through the whole thing. Same with Flora from The Innocents. And he sat me down one day and he said he was disappointed in me and I thought I was going to die. And I went home and within 2 days, I had the whole play memorized. And I then, as I learned more and more things about theater, like I have so many, things I use to memorize, and I try to memorize everything early on, also so I can be free. Like
Mhm.
once I have that down, which is some sort of like ground that you lay, then I can play and I can really listen to the other people and I can be looser instead of like, oh, I know I'm supposed to say something soon. I have no idea what it is. I just, it keeps me out of my
Yeah.
head.
Absolutely. And just getting into the theater work and then the commercials, and then eventually you end up on Fast Times at Ridgemont High with Lisa. This was the first big break for you to the film world. And Sean Penn, you get to work with him. He was really showing up and watching you work behind the scenes there.
Yeah, he was really interesting. He liked to come and watch the other actors work, and I mean maybe he wanted to just see how the movie was coming together. He was just as I think he is now. At the way we're not in contact, not presuming to know him. He just seems like a very curious person, which
Hmm.
is I think why he's so great at what he does because he just seems like he's curious about life and people and I think some of my favorite actors just seem to be very curious people because they ask a lot of questions and um, I don't know, they're just interested as opposed to trying to be interesting, I think is how I feel it.
So how was it being a part of this cast with all these personalities? Because you were a star amongst stars, Forrest Whitaker, Nicolas Cage. There were so many people involved with this, and I've even heard you say that everyone was successful in the film business from this film, or even when they got out of the film business, they were successful as well. So it was really a magic movie.
It really is interesting. Like every actor in that movie either went on to be a major star or someone like me that's like a journeyman character actor, or they left the business and are hugely successful. And I have no idea why that is. It's just some sort of, highly motivated people. I don't know. But it is interesting how many known actors,
Mhm.
either got their start, or, were in that movie before things broke for them, or that or it's why things broke for them or it is fascinating, and Amy Heckerling is the best of the best. She's just so she's effortlessly cool and so smart and interesting and talented.
Hmm. With A Nightmare on Elm Street, there's always conventions and panels. Have they brought you guys, the cast of Fast Times at Ridgemont High, together at all for a panel?
They haven't
Wow.
they haven't it's interesting. I think in my experience, and now there's just so many conventions and in the spectrum of a lot of people going to them, I only do a couple a year, and some years I haven't done any, but I love going. I love meeting the fans. I love hearing everybody's stories. But my experience is the horror community is a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? It celebrates historical films and things of
Hmm.
the past a little bit more than say pop culture, which kind of trips over itself to celebrate the latest thing. And it doesn't mean that people don't come up a lot for Better Off Dead and Fast Times. They do. But nobody ever brings us together in those, which and people come up to me at conventions and ask all the time, like, why aren't you guys all together? And I'm like, I'm not in charge.
Yeah.
I'm just a hired hand at these things. So
It's definitely a classic, especially with comedy. Everyone remembers Fast Times at Ridgemont High, so I'm sure the fans would love to have a panel happen, but there's just a lot of people involved, a lot of star power to get everyone together.
yes, and I think, it's even like when we did the 40th anniversary of the OG Nightmare on Elm Street, which was last year, we could not get all the agents together to get me, Robert, and Heather in the same place at the same time. It was
Wow.
just ridiculous. And it was frustrating for all of us. And I don't know why they couldn't do that. So we only had one convention. And then we have friends, Barbara Crampton is a very dear friend of mine, and they're celebrating the 40th anniversary of
Is it Reanimator?
Reanimator. Thank you.
Okay.
I was like, couldn't remember if it was from Beyond or Reanimator. And their agents all got together. They're like doing a frigging tour, all of them together, and they're having so much fun. And so we were like, that's how you do it. But Barbara's magic. She's so good at facilitating ease and um, getting people together and getting people to connect properly. And she has mad skills, which is also why she's not only like a superstar, but a pretty great producer because she's just able to. I call it facilitate ease. She
Hmm.
just gets it done, and then everyone has fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's true. And you mentioned the OG Nightmare on Elm Street, and we're gonna get right into it, especially the TV movie prior. But how did you feel about the remake? Because your character, Tina, was more loved than the Nancy character. They preferred your role in the remake version than Nancy, and that's what I've just read online and seen on websites and articles and things like that from the fans. But did you see the remake? How did you feel about it? Because I think Robert is the only Freddy.
Yes, yes. Although and Robert would say this too. The other Jackie Earl Haley's a brilliant actor.
He is.
Um, you know what? I haven't seen it.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, I know some of the actors, and I know all the actors in it are good and stuff like that. I think what trips it up is that they could have gone the route, however you say it, that Halloween franchise did was to continue using at least the OG people or
Hmm.
something and do because in the end of the original film, it's like, did they die? Did they not die? So like
Exactly.
even Tina, Nick, all of that, like we could have gone forward and done some really interesting stuff. So also Nightmare had just come out with like the I don't know, Blu-ray thing, and then that movie came out and it was like it didn't it kind of conflicted with interest in what had already been before it. And I think they could have been more imaginative with the rights. Because as it was, they were like, we absolutely don't want anyone from the original film. Like they were like really brutal about it. Like they were like wanted their own. I forget who the company was, but they were like, we want none of you. And and then the Halloween has done such an interesting job of you kind of cut out, obviously you would cut out things that followed the original one.
Hmm.
And if you jumped off from there, it could just be so interesting and fun. And then you could pepper it with some of the beloved characters from the other films. They would just not be playing those characters. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And you could have really used everyone. And then you introduce younger kids or young people to do it to so that they can also carry it forward. But we could have done two or three films like that, like Halloween did with it could have been, Heather and or Nancy and Tina and they keep, still like battling things, but now we're dealing with our kids having the nightmares and it could have been really interesting. Obviously that ship has sailed. It can never happen because they're just in remake mode. And they also didn't, I think a good remake has a unique spin, and they really just sort of copied it frame for frame.
Mhm.
So there was kind of, and but used. I think, prettier people with CGI. So, which is great, it's all great. It just didn't really move anything forward. Do you know
Mhm.
what I
Mhm.
mean? It just
I
kind of
agree.
was like, it kind of made people go, oh, they remade this film. But I've never heard that they like the character of Christina, and I like that. And I'm going to take some comfort in that, even though I have nothing to do with that film. I feel like I created Christina, so I'm gonna take that compliment.
Yeah. Take it. It was definitely one of the positives of the new film. And I think one of the turnoffs of the newer film with the subject line was that they kind of really got into Freddy's backstory more with him being a molester, where it wasn't as prevalent with the old Freddy Krueger. They actually made this a subject line in the new one, and it was a turnoff for a lot of people, including me.
Yeah, I think I have heard that. I think what was interesting about the way Wes created that narrative
Mhm.
was that I think like all good thrillers and things like that leave a lot to the imagination. So people could hear them say child killer in the original one, or maybe not hear it, or you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it was really kind of up to whatever you wanted him to be and
Yeah.
why they did that in a lot of ways. And I think that, you know, helps people to get really involved in something because they're not being spoon fed a lot of information. And yeah, so I mean, anyway, that's my thoughts about it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I agree. We can leave the new one to rest forever, as we'll only recognize the original film. And we're going to get into that, the original film. But I want to get into that. But before that, I want to get into the TV movie, because this was with Lonnie Anderson, and Wes Craven discovered you through this with the audition to get you on board for the audition for A Nightmare on Elm Street. So how did you get involved with this TV movie that was so big?
Oh my gosh. Your research is wild.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, what? Um, I was sent the script and I really liked it and I auditioned for it. And at the time, the mom was being played by Farrah Fawcett. And so, and that was like I think she had just left Charlie's Angels, around that time. She was hugely famous. Um, and then, so we had a read through, we had a couple meetings, we had a couple rehearsals because back in the day, they had the money and time to do. It was very, it just seemed so sophisticated and luxurious that you got to rehearse like that. But anyway, she ended up with a conflict and had to drop out. And then Lonnie Anderson stepped in, who was, at the time, she was probably one of the most famous people in the world from WKRP in Cincinnati. And so in the span of a week, I met and spent a lot of time with Farrah Fawcett, who was just absolutely one of the most beautiful people you would ever meet. And way taller than you expect, just so beautiful, very soft spoken, uh, just wonderful. And then in walks Lonnie Anderson, also one of like preternaturally gorgeous, like where you go, you have to be an alien. She's an alien, like it's nobody can look like that. And she also was so nice. And she had me come over before we left for location. We filmed in San Francisco. She had me come over and do a sleepover at her house and made me the most, she's Southern, made me the most beautiful breakfast, this full Southern breakfast, and let me play in her jewelry that Burt Reynolds had got her and all these things. I was like a little beach hippie kid, so I was like, what? This is amazing. I am living my best life at Lonnie Anderson's house. And then we just went and had a great time. And then it turned into this. It was like the highest rated TV movie for many years. And everyone just, I mean, it was all because of her. Um, and Wes had seen it and he brought me in to read for Nancy. And then when I got the call back, it was for Tina. And I was like, wow. I don't want to play Tina. And he was like, let me tell you why you should play Tina. And he's just so cool because I didn't really. grow up watching horror films. A lot of the time growing up, we didn't have a television. So, but I did read a lot and I'd read a lot of, like The Others and The Exorcist. And so when he gave me the script and I read it, the original anyway, it read like the best horror novel. Like you couldn't put it down. And I just I really liked it. And he he really sold me. I'm sure he was like BSing me, but he was like, we really have to believe you're going to be the heroine. And I just want you to be so committed. And I was asking questions like, so is it different to act in a horror film? And he's like, no, I do not want that. I want you to play this like this is the most real drama you've ever been in. And but he did teach me some good tricks and things like if somebody is up there and they're going to get you, always be looking down like you've dropped something. You know what I mean? It builds tension and the audience is like, it's like, so he taught me some good tips that I was able to use in other movies. Or yeah, it doesn't even have to be a horror film. It's just like makes people kind of get on
That's
that
true.
seat.
No, you set it off right away. As soon as the credits come up with Freddy jumping up behind you and Freddy has the goat running. You had a goat on set.
They did. I think it was a lamb.
It was like,
I think it was a lamb. Is a lamb a goat? Maybe a
I
lamb is
think
a goat.
so.
Okay, you know what? Don't I'm correcting you. And then I went, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Um, it's super cute. There was like a lamb wrangler, super cute little baby running around. Um, stole the scene. Like I was like, I don't even need to be here. Who's gonna be watching me when there's like this cutest little lamb going by? And yeah, it was pretty
hmm
fun.
Yeah. How, especially because when we look at the alley scene, when we look at when we see the arms extended, that's in my opinion, that's the most iconic moment of the franchise. That scene, and especially the death scene in the bed. That's what I remember the most. It has a lasting imprint for sure.
Well, I would say thank you, but it's all Wes. I mean, I just wanted to help him tell his story, and he was also very he had children our age. He was very good at being able to help us tell the story in the way that he wanted it, but also that we were fulfilled doing it. He was pretty amazing that way. Very funny.
Hmm
Um, so yeah, that alley scene. So that was shot in Venice, California. Back before Venice was totally kind of gentrified. It was kind of going through, it'd been like wild in the 60s and 70s, and it was just going through some stuff. And so that alley was just like filled with hypodermic needles and broken glass, and it was like really gnarly, and which does help like the vibe of how creepy that was. And we were filming very near the ocean, and that marine layer was blowing in, and that was like mist that was really from the ocean. I mean, it was wild. And so we realized when we were doing the indoor stuff and you shoot out of order that we had already established me barefoot, and that was a problem because that the alley was like it was like tetanus disease laden, and so they had to go through and they swept it so many times and hosed it down and swept it and hosed it down. Heather still ended up in one scene, I think in that alley, she ended up stepping on a nail and had to go get a tetanus shot. I'm
Ooh.
pretty sure it was the same alley. But the funny thing was we were shooting that so late at night and I came out and I was screaming. And at some point, like around 2 a.m., you hear a neighbor just go, "Shut the F up." I was like, sorry. We tried to wrap it up after that. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole context where you say please God and Freddy goes, "This is God." That's the most memorable part for me, for sure. Yeah, yeah, it's off the fingers.
Yeah. And all that stuff is practical effects, as you know. It was way before, any sort of computer generated or
CGI.
yeah, you can't. There was just so like the sleeves in the alley was just this stunt guy with wires that they made the sleeves really long and like the crew people on either side pulled the arms out, and it was amazing how well it worked. And then the I can't remember if it ended up in the movie or not. The trash can lid rolls, and I pick it up and there's worms and they crawl on me. Like all that is real. I don't know if that scene made it in the movie, but that's
All we
actually
saw was
happened.
lid roll in the
Oh,
alley.
okay. So
Hmm.
it, the lid stops.
Hmm.
I bend down and pick it up.
That we filmed this, and there's a bunch of worms and they crawl all over me. It was just horrifying. And then that's right, it didn't end up in the movie. I'm like, what was that about? And then the other thing, like when I'm standing in the body bag, there's real eels that I'm standing in. And I just
Hmm.
remember just going,
This is rough. I don't know.
I don't I don't like this. But just gonna say right now I don't like it. And the guy, they always have a wrangler for living things. And he's like, they don't bite, they've been defanged or whatever you do to them.
Hmm.
I don't even remember now if they had fangs or venom or
Whatever they had. And I was like, I don't know you. Like, what if you're just saying that? Like, I have no authority on this set. I'm just gonna stand in this bag of eels and a total stranger is telling me it's fine to do because they've been defanged. And so
Hmm.
I did it, and I did not get bit. So
Oh, that's it's a good thing. I was gonna say because you mentioned the scene with the body bags, and those were the two scenes that really disturbed me when I was a kid when I saw the movie, especially with the one with the bugs, and then the one in the hallway in Nancy's dream with the blood in the body bag. Yeah, those were the scenes that were the most eerie to me, and I don't know why, but outside of Freddy, that was the most disturbing to me when I was a kid.
you I get
told that a lot, and people say that at panels, when we're on panels. And he, I asked a therapist once what that was, and like in her opinion, she was that we all have like a lizard brain fear of death, but also a fear of
like not quite dead, or like
I'm in a body bag, but I'm still moving and talking, and that tickles that part that's like, you know, what if somebody thinks you're dead and you're not? And
I just think it's a kind of a it's a universal lizard brain kind of fear, like body bags and fear of death and all that stuff. And
yeah, that was well, and filming those scenes, those were just real body bags. They'd zip it up, they'd poke a few holes around the nose. Wes would tell me to hold my breath, and I was just like, what's the safe word when I want to get out? Like, how do we get me out of here when I want to get out?
Especially too when you're on the ground in your dream with Freddy and you pull off his face, his mask, and it's KY jelly. It's a dummy.
yeah, yeah. It was
I mean, and also Robert is such a trooper. He has such fair, sensitive skin, and just all that makeup and ripping things off his face, and oh my God, his skin was just so.
um irritated all the time with
Hmm.
anyway. So, but yeah, he's such a trooper.
And he's fun because he's a theater actor, so like all the way he moves his body, and
He grew up doing summer stock plays with fight scenes. A lot of times when you're the young actor, you're
one of the army guys, the guard or whatever. And so all those fight scenes, he's so good at doing stuff like that, and so it was
Hmm.
fun to work with him to
do it. I think that's also part of the why he resonates so well with people, because he just his theatricality, just the way he would move, like you would watch him go, oh,
this catches the light. Like those little things matter, and it makes you more involved in the story. And it was really fun.
watching him
Mm.
create that, you know, iconic. I mean, it's just in the pantheon of iconic
It
monsters,
is.
really.
It is. Did you get to tell him when you were in the makeup trailer, when you first met him, that you were a fan of his back in the day of a old surfer movie that he was in?
Did
And he was like, of course you are. You're from Manhattan Beach. That's right. Of course you love Big Wednesday. Because he's so good in it. Actually, everybody's so good in that movie. And, it
showed a lot
where
where
I grew up, there were two movie theaters, and they
often played surf movies or movies that had
to do with surfing. And so, you go and it was a
small town back then. Now it's like Bel
or
Air.
at the beach. So now I don't even think they have movie theaters there. I'm sure that's beneath the residents of Manhattan Beach now. But that you would go and they would play for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and so you'd be like, I had his role memorized. And then when I was like, oh my God, he's and also I'd seen him in Buster and Billy, and there was one other thing I hadn't seen V, which is what everybody knew him from.
Hmm.
I think I had TV at the time. I was kind of in and out of like I don't need a TV, and then no, I couldn't live without the TV. So
No, times are definitely different now. You definitely need it, especially with the phones.
yes.
It's classic, and you can't forget about Johnny Depp. It's his first role. He's acting alongside of you guys. When was the last time that you saw Johnny Depp? Has he been to a panel with you guys? Can he come around to one of these panels? Because I think it would be amazing if he did. He did an
I think it would break
anniversary.
the world if he did a panel. Like if he showed up at a con,
Hmm.
there would be such chaos. I think the roof would collapse. Um, he probably will someday. I think it'll be dangerous because people will go so insane. Um, I haven't seen him in years and years and years. He, but he just was then and is now a really nice guy. The same as he was. Like he was always like a cool musician, dressed the same way he does now as he did then as a teenager. Like he's very authentic, he's like smooth jazz. It's just kind of cool. He's
Mm.
effortlessly cool as well. And nice, very nice, and a very hard worker. He worked very hard on Nightmare on Elm Street because he had never filmed before, and he had a coach on set, and he worked really, really hard. Um, it was it was neat.
I think it happened by chance that he was able to be a part of this film. I think he was bringing someone else to audition for it.
You know what? I've heard a couple things. I've heard that Nicholas Cage. There's something to do with Nicolas Cage. I think either they had the same manager and they'd all gone out to lunch, or something to do with that Johnny showed up, or the manager that Johnny and sentiment. I can't remember the story. It had to, and I've heard a couple of versions of the story. I think things of people exaggerate. They changed the story. Now I can't remember. Heather and Robert are better historians of all that stuff. But they but he anyway, yeah. And Wes's daughter, because that role was really written as a jock, like a beefy jock. And her everybody was put on tape, and his daughter saw that and was like, nope, that's the guy. Wes was like, okay.
Yeah, everyone in the film is likable, perfect for the role, and that's why it's so surprising when they kill you off, even though Wes Craven wanted you to be like Janet Leigh and Psycho, and you have everyone fooled because you think that you're going to be really leading into the film, and then they kill you off in the scene with the bed. And then I watched a documentary with how the scene was made, with you being all around the room and strapped down, and then Wes Craven was strapped down in the corner with the camera and the chair, and then you even got vertigo. So how long did it take for you to get over that fear to keep the scene going?
Well, it was interesting because we had to rehearse that scene a lot because it was very low budget. Once blood was introduced into the room, we couldn't go back and reshoot anything. So we Wes had it broken up into segments, and we just rehearsed them before I was bloody, obviously. So by the time we went to film it, I'd already been going around in that room a lot, hours. And so when we started filming, I was pretty good, because as people know, it was a box on a fulcrum. People spun it around. I was always on the floor. Um, Everything was nailed down, shellacked, glued, and the camera went around with the room, so the viewer sees the perspective of the camera. But I was always on the floor, even though I looked like I was on the ceiling. But anyway, so at one point we were doing it, and I started like heaving my body back because I thought I was falling off the ceiling. Like it literally felt like I was being pulled backwards, but I was on my stomach on the floor. But I thought
Mm.
I was being pulled up and was going to fall. So I was not really in the scene at that moment. And so Wes stopped, and it happened to be on its side. He poked his head through the window and was trying to talk to me about it.
And he goes, "Oh, whoa, I got to get out of this room." He goes, we need to get this child out of this room." Because it just stepping in there, he was like, "Whoa, no," because it just would make it made your head swimming. It made my head swim, and he was like, "Use it." And so I did. It's like all my terror, all my feeling that I was falling, I just put it all there.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely the most memorable death scene. Everyone remembers that, and you were the first to fight Freddy.
Yes, yes. And you know what's cool about that scene, like for me, like that, what happened was when we were done, you know, I think we both knew that we had done something, interesting, at least, you know, it wasn't just a slice him up, dice him up. It wasn't jokey. It wasn't like naked girl running in the woods. It had just an elevated element to it, I think. And it ended up being there was a couple things that were kind of cool that had nothing to do with horror. It ended up being like in cinematic, I forget what it's called, like one of the top 100 death scenes ever filmed, ever in any film. And we're talking like Apocalypse Now and
Wow.
things. And then I forget who those that was, so it makes the story not that interesting. Sorry. And then I'm having a senior moment. And then the other thing was there was this great picture of me and Wes right when we finished the scene. Um, I am standing there. I'm squatting down, or I'm kind of like, am I on my knees? I forget. And I'm looking up at him, and he's standing there. And that they had this huge black and white version of it, and they hung that in the lobby of the Directors Guild of America for years. And then when Wes passed away, when the DGA, the Directors Guild of America, honored him, that was the photo they used because it was just really considered such an iconic um, thing to do at that time, like that with all practical effects and stuff. And then what's the funny thing about that photo too is that Wes is trying to encourage me to get up, and I am trying to get him to squat down because I still think we're on the ceiling and we're gonna fall. That is how I ended that scene. Like I was so completely like disoriented, and Wes is like, "Nope, we're not on the ceiling. I'm going to help you get up." And so there's this sequence of photos where he's got me to get up and he helps me get down the ladder because you had to climb a ladder. And the whole time I'm like, "We're falling." He's like, "Nope, got you. We're not falling." And then, so that was that. Then somebody gave me some water. I sat in a chair, my ears hit. Anyway, it's very funny. He's like, "Nope, you're not falling. We're not, I've got you." I'm like, "Okay, I hope so."
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely used your character to be the creepy element with Freddy, especially when Nancy's dreaming and he puts your Freddy puts your face on his face
Yeah.
and he's like save me from Freddy. Yeah, and it's your
Yes.
voice because he's like banging through the window trying to get in. And that was so was that voiceover for that? Did you have to use
Yes.
voiceover?
Yes, yes. And I just found out when they have an action figure of Freddy that has the little mask of my
The matter of
face.
your face. Yes, yeah.
I need that. I
Yeah.
want that. I don't have that. And I just feel like I'm not a collector of things, but I would collect that. That is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
They should make all the figures from that first film. And speaking of photos, because you mentioned photos before, you remember this because this goes around on the internet all the time. This pic here, do you know when that
Yes.
was?
Yes, that was during I think we were about to shoot. I don't think that was publicity photos. I think we were actually about to shoot the scene where Freddy drives off in the car. I'm trying to think because we also did publicity shots, but I think that was a before we were filming something. But what we were listening to was Johnny had recorded some music and had brought it in a Walkman, of course, because that's what you did in 1983. And we were all taking turns listening on the headphones to his band, and it was
Wow.
kind of fun. And then,
That's amazing.
they were like, "We're gonna roll." We just took it off and stuck it down under the seat.
That's amazing. It's just a fun set, and I could tell even the photo here. of you and Wes.
Yes, I love that photo so much. I just love that photo. And um, yeah, it's you know what? We're all still good friends. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, Johnny moves in a different universe and than I do. But anytime he speaks of the film, he speaks of it with fondness and kindness
Mhm.
and the people in it. And, you know, I've had people say, oh, I'm friends with Amanda, you know, and he'll be like, oh, tell her I say hi. You know, he's a very generous, nice guy.
He
But we,
cares.
the rest of us have all stayed friends, and it's fun. We get to get together at conventions, and yeah, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it definitely is a standalone film. And you had a falling out with your agents. They sent you this part, but they didn't want you to do it because it was a horror film. So how did you keep getting back up on your feet? And I also wanted to get into the new Nightmare story, especially with them wanting you to come back as an extra for $50, which is crazy, and you didn't do it, and they dropped you. And you keep losing these agents once you get approached with this role for this character in this franchise. So how did you keep getting back up on your feet?
I know. The movie was a blessing and a curse early
It
on.
was.
Not anymore. Not anymore. But yeah, so my agents didn't want me to do it because at the time, people don't know this, but the industry was very divided. If you were in soap operas, that's all you did. If you were in nighttime TV, that's all you did. If you were in film, you would never consider doing television. And you know, theater actors for the most part only did theater or they did film. It was very, and then there were like horror actors and you know, porn actors. Like it was like very, they were in a lane and you didn't leave it. And they were like, you have all these movies that, you know, you have this wave you're writing right now and you're just gonna ruin it. And we don't want you to do it. And I'm like, well, why'd you send me the script? And they were like, well, you know, we thought you would do the lead, but they don't want you for the lead, so we don't think you should do it. But I really liked Wes, so I did it. So then Wes is like, I'm going to use you in the other movies. Um, he never did. And then at the New Nightmare, instead of writing me an actual role where like her best friend isn't dead, and it could have been really interesting, they want me to be an extra at gravesite, which Johnny did do. And so that was what they held over my head. They were like, well, Johnny's coming back to do it. And I'm like, that is great. But you have promised me to be in all these movies. You never put me in them. And now you want me to be an extra in one you could have actually really written me a role for. And I said no. And then my agents dropped me because they were like, you've now just pissed off New Line Cinema. And you know, I was pretty young making these decisions. I mean, in hindsight, would I do it differently? Probably not. You know,
Mhm.
it is the way it is. And then Wes never spoke to me.
Yeah, I did hear about this with the divorce and some things that he thought were said. It's unfortunate.
I
Yeah.
know it was just so like one of those things like where I was like, good God, like I'm a child, you're a grown up, behave. Yeah, but
When
so
was the last time you got to sincere speak to him? Because it was.
I never really did. I ran into him with Heather at because I had never seen Nightmare on Elm Street on the big screen. Um, for reasons just, you know, I was in Canada doing a series and I missed the premiere, just all these things. I just never saw it. So I got it on VHS you know, and then I don't know, I think I broke my VHS player. I don't know. I just never seen it. So they were doing they were showing it years and years and years later at the Egyptian Theater in Hollywood for some sort of honor. It could have been the 20 years or something. And I went with Heather. I saw Wes and I said, hi, Wes. And he was just like, and I was like, oh, that's too bad. We're not gonna ever,
Oh.
we're not gonna make up. And that's okay. He said nice things about me in the documentary, as he should have, because
Mhm.
there wouldn't have been any reason to not. So, but I don't have anything to say
No.
about him. I think
He was a genius, and I think it was unfortunate that um,
our relationship didn't flourish, but that was on him, not me.
so
Yeah, no, I agree. He's definitely one of the greatest of all time, one of the greatest to do it. And I was actually watching the film last night because they have all the horror movies on, and it's definitely a standalone film. And I'm just like, did we really need all of these sequels to this franchise? Not even just in this franchise, but with a lot of horror franchises, it's really just a standalone film.
Yeah. I think
it is the standalone one. I think the other ones they have people that cross over into them. I mean, obviously Heather and Robert, but that's
Mhm.
different. Um,
I just think, Heather and Robert are the
King and Queen, and
they just do such a good job with such an integrity in the other films. I do think the best ones in the franchise are the ones
Wes was involved in.
Mhm.
I just think he
he knew the world better than anyone.
and he knew, he's just such a great filmmaker. So he didn't rely on jokiness and he didn't rely on
Silliness. He, this okay.
I went and there's a show in LA called Monster Palooza, and I went and saw a panel once that some people from Blumhouse were on, and they were talking, and it might have been Ryan Turek. It was just somebody from Blumhouse that said, I wrote it down on my phone because I went, yes. He said, all great horror is intrinsically sad.
because if you can take the slasherness out and there's
Still a
story there that has you
captivated. That's a great film and it's going to hold up. And that's what Nightmare on Elm Street is. And that's what the other
ones that Wes was involved in. If you could just make Freddy just a regular murderer, like make it,
it doesn't have to be a
horror monster. Um, the story is good without the slasherness. Am I making sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It just makes sense. And even with these, because it's well written, and especially we'll see with Craven behind the scenes. It's a
Yeah,
standalone film. I look at that, and all the other sequels are just like you don't really need them. And like I said, it goes for a lot of the the
yeah.
other movies. But yeah, I definitely said this one is standalone. There's no
Thank
question.
you.
I have a lot of friends in the other ones and I love them. But
I did like the Dream Warriors and the Dream Master and the ones like that, but it's just something about the first one where there's an actual dark feeling to it, to where it's actually scary, and the later ones are just entertainment.
Yeah, I think
you know what? It's like
um, like somebody. I don't know. Yeah, it's just me.
maintenance of the franchise. But I think all those people, all the other ones, they did the best they
Hmm.
could. I just think that the ones, in my opinion, the one I like all the ones Heather is in, and
Hmm.
and Robert's always great.
Yeah.
I think Robert's
Favorite, my favorite
of the franchise besides mine is the New Nightmare.
Mm.
I just think Robert and Heather were so beautiful and just at their like really like on their game, and we're able to walk that meta line and keep you really engrossed. And there was something
intrinsically creepy about that film. Like
There
where you
was.
go,
I don't even know what I'm watching. Super uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it made me like, ew, cringy. I'm not cringy, twingy. Not, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that this too, because I want to get into your other film work. I think really, would you reprise Tina? I know Robert Englund said that he would never play Freddy again. I get that he's older now. I would love to see the fans would love to see it, but
yeah,
would you reprise Tina if you and Heather were
one
approached?
thousand
Percent. Like
Hmm.
Heather and I think of ideas about it all the time. And like I just think it would be so fun. We would make our hair gray and we could even be like older the mothers and we could be the grandmothers and just like have like young people in it and the story comes back and we're haunted. We're, I don't know, who knows? I could have been Tina lived, but she got divorced like 7 times. She has kids from different baby daddies. She's a lot like how her mom was, cigarette smoking, sleeping with men, and not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm not shaming anybody that likes to sleep with whoever you want. I say life is rough, be happy. I think we come up with all these stories all the time. And I mean, it would be fun if we sort of turned into our mothers.
Hmm.
Or Heather could be, we don't know who my dad was, but we could turn in, or Heather is like the local head of the police department, like her dad. Like, something like it could be so good.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
You got to have Robert on board. And I know I say money talks and things like that. And I saw him on the Goldbergs a couple years ago. And I just look at it as you only live once. And the fans would love to see him back in the makeup and acting with you guys again.
I know. He always says it's time to pass it on to someone. But that said, nobody with money and, a real production company behind it has offered any of us a real opportunity. So, we'll never know until someone like Blumhouse or, like a company that's going to have a big theatrical release that's um pretty sure they could get all three of us to um, and probably Johnny Depp when he talks.
And he needs a comeback. We need him back on the big screen, Johnny Depp, because I know everything happened with the case, but he needs a comeback. And I think it would really be poetic because it was the film that got him going in his career. And now this could be the film potentially to bring him a comeback.
Yeah. And we could sell it like Jamie Lee did the Halloween,
The
and then her
Halloween
next
Queen, yeah.
movie, she got an Oscar, the
Yeah.
next film. So I'm like, it's the gateway drug to your Oscar. Let's do it.
It is. It's long overdue. We haven't had a Freddy movie since the remake, and just in my opinion, it just wasn't that good. And we've had Halloweens, and we're overdue for a Jason, even though we have the new Friday the 13th Jason series that's coming out. So I'm sure they'll be making a movie for Jason soon. But for Freddy, it's long overdue on the big screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I was like waiting for my phone to ring from the Jason people for the series. I was like, how quirky would that be? You should put me in your series. But
Yeah.
nope, nobody's calling.
That's surprising because we're gonna get into the id is that no one's called you in a similar role as Tina for a horror film. I think that's crazy. I
Ever,
mean,
ever. And I did, one or two like really regrettable things. I mean, I try not to have regrets, but in hindsight, they were poor choices on my part. But the id, best role I've ever had.
mhm.
And it was kind of like Tina grown up, maybe in a way. And I love the director, Tommy Hudson, Sean, who wrote it. Um, I think it had some issues because it was so ultra low budget, but overall, I just loved it so much, and I thought it was a really meaningful story. Like, again, if you take the horror out of it, it's about having to be a caretaker in an abusive relationship, and obviously, some people might handle it better than Meredith did, but I just loved making that movie, and I thought it was going to be something that people would see, but nobody really saw it.
Mm.
I mean, at conventions, people, which breaks mine and the director's heart so much, because we really poured our blood and soul into it, and literally, and yeah, I thought I'd be in the running for more parts like that, but I guess really just the only roles I get now, or which I love, are episodic television. And so I haven't had another like breakout thriller horror movie. People don't offer them to me. I get offered like come do a cameo, and I'm like, no, no, I'm not a joke. I'm not a I'm not a wink wink. Isn't that funny? That actress that used to be in that thing is
Oh, you're
doing.
more respectable. You bring a lot to fill. You
Yeah,
need to have a part. Mhm.
yeah, I want a role. And so um
I do. I love being surrounded by writers and directors and filmmakers and people. I just love that passion of people wanting to create a world and want us as the audience to be moved by it and learn something about the human condition or just be freaking entertained or work out our stress, because I do think horror works out a lot of stress and fear, brings it to the surface and gives it a release valve. And yeah, so I'm hoping that, I'll get more roles that seem fun like that. You know, I went so down a rabbit hole for Meredith that I remember my that like about a month after the movie, my boyfriend at the time, we just got married with my husband,
Oh, congrats.
which I'm
That's,
nice. Thank you. I
yeah.
know we've been together for a million years, but we just got married. So, I mean, neither of us have ever been married, so I'm ecstatic. Um, but he turned to me one day and he said, I think it's time for you to let Meredith go. And I didn't know I was still carrying around that heaviness and torture and it was heavy. So anyway, thank you for even knowing about that movie. I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to tell you, that means so much to me. I cannot even tell you because I just I just feel really honored if anybody has seen it and they talk
Yeah, no,
about it.
because it's huge for you. It's psychological. I'm a big psychological thriller guy too, so I can appreciate that. And I know this was critically a lot of people love this, and you've coined it your best performance, and really is.
You are so lovely. Oh
Oh,
my
thank
gosh.
you. I appreciate that. No, I do. So the id and you the resonator that was another one that you did too.
Oh my gosh, we had so much fun. Okay, there's an actor who's now a writer director named um Billy Butler, William Butler. Oh gosh, sorry. I'm
Oh,
sitting
you're
on my bed, by the way. There's there's chaos going on in the rest of the home, so I'm sitting on the bed and it's
oh,
very
no
wobbly.
problem.
So my computer just wants to slide off. Um, he's so talented. Billy Butler is William Butler. He wrote the Resonator. It's part of the uh oh my gosh, who's the guy who did From Beyond and Reanimator? The writer.
Oh, is that?
Um,
I don't want to look wrong here. Is that Cronenberg? I feel like that's.
no, it's not Cronenberg, but it's somebody like that. It's oh my mind's anyway. Miskatonic You is in that universe of
Okay.
not Stuart Gordon who oh, is it Stewart? No, Stuart Gordon directed those movies. They're based on Lovecraft,
Mm,
H.P. Lovecraft. God, sorry, that was so long to get
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Um,
It happens.
so the Resonator, the Resonator colon Miskatonic View, however they worded that title, was so much fun. It was Michael Pare, me, just so many fun people. And it took place in this college, Miskatonic U, which is part of that universe. And nobody is who you think they are, shapeshifters and monsters. I was a witch. Um, everybody's pretty evil. And the only people that don't really know what's going on are most of the students, but there's like a cadre of students who kind of figure it out. But then it was put on Amazon Prime. They just didn't dig it and
Hmm.
stopped it. They just like let it go.
Oh man.
But I just felt like it hadn't found its footing yet because it was actually fun, and the people that saw it, it was something you'd keep watching. It was just it was like sci-fi, kind of scary, but more creepy. Anyway, it was just I was like, oh,
Hmm.
man.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, because that was another interesting series that I was about
Yeah,
online. Yeah, yeah. And you
yeah.
also have this because you have I don't know what you could speak of what else you have on the way because they were going to go back to Black Magic Woman because you got to work with Mark Hamill on this. That's sort of
Yes.
highlight. Like,
Oh my gosh, it was so fun in Apollonia.
hmm.
We had so much fun. Mark Hamill was the nicest. Well, actually, both Mark Hamill and Apollonia are the nicest people you will ever meet. They're just super professional,
fun, easy, and
Apollonia and I really hit it off.
because we both grew up in the South Bay area around the same time. We're still friends with Mark Hamill. Um, for some reason, the movies back then, like the few I did, like Better Off Dead, Fast Times,
Black Magic Women, although it's
not in the league of the other ones. Well, I ended up staying friends with all the people, but that doesn't usually happen, and it certainly isn't really the way my later things are. But that we had so much fun, and it was just the script didn't really make sense, which is why kind of the movie doesn't even make sense. But it was the 80s, people had a lot of money and they were just throwing it at you, and you're like, I can't say no, I've got to do this movie. It's with Mark Hamill and Apollonia, and she was hot off Purple Rain, and um so
anyway, we all had a ball.
we knew it
It was probably not going to be a great movie, but it's kind of
has a cult following. That and
Mhm.
Shakma have a cult following that I am
just I like people love.
they want to talk about it. I'm like, okay, I don't and that's growing about those two, which I just get the biggest kick out of. I love
Mhm.
it and love anybody that
That it wants to resurrect those.
for it.
And then what I have coming up
Is a project with Billy Butler, who did
Ooh.
Miskatonic You, and he does a lot of writing and directing, and it is a great.
it's a Meredith.
So fingers crossed, all that goes forward for the new year, and
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
super excited about that.
that yeah, and,
I'll
and
I'll
that
be looking
also
forward
has
to
a
that.
really good cast. Yeah,
And I wanted to bring this up too, because just learning about old, well, I wouldn't say old because it was the 80s. I love the 80s, even though I was born in 99.
Oh
When
my God,
I
you're
look
a
at it,
baby.
yeah, rehearsal. But what happened to rehearsal rooms and rehearsal times? Because you could tell by the preparedness of it that it really came across on film.
Yeah. I think it's just money. I think things are, I think what's happening now, like
like even on large films,
the star,
disproportionately, which
they deserve it. It's not
not a
condemnation. It's just they'll disproportionately be paid on a huge part of the budget.
and then everything else is scaled back. Um,
So I think it's financial.
I think now, especially with this, especially
Since this changeover from film, which cost
cost a lot to film on, and you really did need to rehearse on film because
Mhm.
it cost a lot of money to we couldn't just do take after take after take. A show would go broke, um, or way in debt. And so with um, the digital cameras, people can do 100 takes of something. It doesn't cost them a dime,
except for the crew. But with these super low budget films or low budget films or just even medium budget films, everyone's using digital, so they rehearse on camera. And
what that does is it breeds bad habits
for some actors who think it's
more organic to not know what they're going to do. Um, and that's really not the
case the actors, they admire that look organic and
they know what they're doing backwards
and forwards, and then they just let it go and they're free in that moment, but they're not
just going there winging the lines and doing all that stuff. And
I lately have been working with actors that do that, and it's really disruptive, and
it's not it doesn't make you a good team player, team storyteller.
so I think bad habits are happening
With the freedom and ease of the digital world, and but it also makes that you can, if hopefully have a great
script, you can shoot it pretty quickly, but you know
all movies are expensive, but somewhat affordably. And so
there's upsides and downsides to it, but I just
like the movie that Billy's going to do, we're going to rehearse,
and I'm just so glad. It just because I got to rehearse for the id, and it was just we needed it. We needed to know the world because that world was so specific, and that's the same thing with the movie that fingers crossed we'll be making it's a very specific world, and I want to know it so well that I can let it go, so I can be free in that world. You know what I mean?
Mhm. You, you could tell that the rehearsals really helped you guys back in the day. And I agree with you that it's a digital problem, especially with Hollywood casting. They're casting people based on how many followers that they have. If you know, if these people could probably buy 1 million followers, and that's how they get on these big TV shows and red carpets. It's unbelievable what happened to the traditional actors that actually put in the work in acting. I can go on and on and on and rant, but yeah, it's just completely different now.
Yes. And you know what? I don't, um, what's the word? Condemn anybody's
fame or good fortune, however they got it. And I have worked with, I did a Western a couple of years ago, and one of the young actresses was hired. She never acted. She was an influencer who has millions of followers, and she worked so hard. She really worked hard. And so like I don't, people I think any success is great success. However, people make their money is great. It's not always a great experience for me, but I don't condemn it. They're famous for they found a way to be creative in their world, in the influencer world. And I'm always like, hats off to you. I'm way too lazy. I don't know how they do it. But
I think like like even Fast Times, we rehearse so much and a lot of
improv. So then you see these easy relationships on camera where we'd improv them for 2 weeks or whatever. And so I think like stuff like that is fun. And then also, I went to acting school for a long time. So you have tools in your acting toolbox because you don't always get that luxury, and I have to manufacture it. Or you're working with an actor you're not resonating with. You need those tools to, create the love you need to have for that person. And it, you know, so the other trick is, or the other tool is to always stay light on your feet and not get caught, flat footed or back footed, whatever that saying is, where you're like, oh, I can't do this. I don't know what's going on. We're not rehearsing. Because even in television now, which used to be able to rehearse when you do episodics, they're like rehearsing with the first take. So you really need to show up, open, receptive, listening, prepared, and willing to play in somebody else's sandbox the way they're playing, because I'm just a hired gun. I don't get to make the rules. And so I've totally made peace with that.
Well, you've been in some big shows, Station 19, Charmed, Cheers. You played Woody Harrelson's ex.
Cheers. I played his ex-girlfriend that had used to be
fat because we ate instead of having sex because we didn't believe in having premarital sex. And then,
anyway,
it was a cute storyline. And so my
first episode of that was Woody's first day on Cheers.
Oh.
So it was kind of fun to watch him figure out his footing that first day. And those were such big shoes to fill because the character he was replacing was Coach, who was a beloved character. And he just owned it and did it. And,
he's a good guy.
How about this COVID scare that you had on set for things that you were filming at the time?
Oh God. So first day of Resonator Miskatonic View. This was just at the end of COVID, where Hollywood had opened up, but you had to be tested all the time. So,
I had to go a week before, then 2 days before, and then the morning of,
like at 5 a.m. I had to go get tested.
So
I go, they text me the results. I look at them. I don't have my glasses on. I can't read it. All I see is, negative. And so I show up on set, and, all the sets then had these like COVID czars, and there's a whole area where you go in, you have to show your negative. And, and before you're passed in, you have to wear a mask and all this stuff. So people are moving around behind the COVID area, and I walk up and I hand her my thing, and I'm like, I'm negative. And she goes, step back, back up, put your mask on. Because I had said negative for the flu, but positive for COVID. It was a false positive, but that's what it said. Literally, people start yelling. Everyone is like backing up. and like moving behind this thing. And they're like, get out, okay, have to back up off the downstage, go home, we'll call you. What's going to happen? And I was just like, I know that this is a false negative. Like, I literally haven't been around anyone. And so I text Billy Butler. I was like, there's no way I have COVID. And so the producer calls Billy because they're just going to fire me. And the producer says, would she be somebody that would be going out in crowds before she's supposed to film to get COVID? And Billy was like, absolutely not. There's no way. It's got to be false. And he said, okay, I'll give you today with her. She needs to go get tested again. So they call me like 2 hours later. They're like, okay, you're not fired. Go get tested again. So I drive back to the place, go get tested again. They send the test results to the production company. They tell me to go home. The hours later, like, so I've been at this since like 4 a.m. It's now like 1 p.m. And I get a call from the AD and they're like, okay, come to set now. You've been cleared. You don't have COVID. I'm a wreck by this point, just so you know. I'm exhausted. I'm so stressed out. I thought I was fired, then I wasn't fired. I thought I had COVID. I didn't have COVID. So I go, and then they're like rushing me through hair and makeup. I was just like sweating. I was like, oh my God. And then they throw me in, and it's like my first biggest scene. And I was like, this is so hard. But then it became a good story. And then, yeah, so.
Gosh.
And so there was a couple things, like a couple episodics I did, they're like, you have to drive to these places and you go get tested, and then you have to wait, and like, please don't let me have COVID. I'd like to do the job. And then you go, and then the day you show up on set, they do an instant swab. Like, you just were tested every day, every single day. Mm-hmm. And but I like working, so it was very careful not to put myself in a situation where I was going to get COVID. I didn't get COVID until I took my husband, but boyfriend at the time, with a group of people on a cruise for our friend's birthday. And then we all got COVID because we were idiots, like running around. And it was like a big petri dish of, this, everybody got COVID. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's how you get COVID. Yeah. So I think I'll avoid that. So I keep working.
What are some of the positives that you've been able to take away since the strike happened? Because that was a big thing. It was about residuals and AI. And now I see AI all over the place since the strike happened, all over social media, which is crazy. But what were some of the positives that you were able to notice and take form since the strike happened?
I personally think we're at the same place. I mean, I think it's a little bit better maybe. But I mean, thank goodness the governor or somebody in California just outlawed made it illegal to replace an actor with AI. So I don't think the strike did that. I think they've done that legally. But maybe SAG had their hand in that. I don't know. I think the AI is out of the barn. Like, I think it's hard. And I mean, I want to believe that I can tell what is AI, but there's some stuff that you go, I don't know if that picture is or not. I don't know if that person talking is or not. And so, sorry, that's my husband. Wait, hang on one second. What do you need? Are you sure? Okay. So, I mean, I think I think we're going to find ways to work with it, around it, but I don't think it's going to go away. Sadly, I don't think it's going to go away. I think the people that are really going to be like gobbled up by it are the voice. Like, I do cartoon voices and stuff, and I think they're just going to sample some people's voices and, do stuff like that. But hopefully that's down the road. But I do think, I think SAG was able to I don't think we cut off the head of the snake, but I think we put the snake in a box for a minute. You know what I mean? So I think, and as like residuals, they got some incremental increases, I think not as much as any of us had hoped, but I know that, they did the best they could. The union did the best. I mean, I'm a proud union member. They're tricky times right now, with that stuff. So
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
not just with
Actors in movie making. I mean, gosh, people that make games and
Music.
there's just music.
Hmm.
there's just so many connotations. IT people, so
We all need to, keep it at bay
as much as possible and use what
is good without taking away people's livelihoods. And so I
think a lot, all the creative unions,
there was such solidarity, when on the picket line, like with crew, with people that weren't even in this, but like with iron
it's
workers.
like
Yeah.
everyone was like, we need to make sure you know, this
Represents all of us.
us because
Mhm.
once the dominoes fall, they fall. So it was kind of like it was amazing to see such unity.
That to me was one of the
Big takeaways was the how
unified so many different businesses were in supporting the arts. Um,
Yeah.
so I thought that was great. And I do think SAG is doing their best to work with,
the legislation to
just like I said, keep it in a box for a bit.
Yeah.
so we like can make some better rules and it's because I think everybody was a little back-footed on this. I think this has been coming for a long time and we
Didn't I don't mean just Screen Actors Guild. I just think everybody, I don't know, it it seems like it happened so quickly,
but it really didn't and we just
weren't
Mhm.
uh, you know we're just on it sooner. But that's okay. It is.
everything happens the way it's supposed to and
I think the ship will right itself in some way, and it'll be a new normal. It'll be different, but maybe better. I don't know.
Mhm. Big Beatles fan. You went to a Grateful Dead concert when you were younger. I know that was a big moment. So what's your favorite what's your favorite Halloween type of song now? Would it be, I can give you an example, A Nightmare on My Street with the Fresh Prince, because they put Freddy in there, Will Smith.
Yes, that is
oh
so.
good. Okay, lately I've been putting I feel so terrible. I have to look up the um it's DJ. He's like it does like a kind of oh it's
Fun about a
nightmare on wait, hang on. Let me tell you.
Nightmare on My
Because
Street with DJ Jazzy Jeff Fresh
Yes,
Prince. Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you. Okay, is that the one
you're saying is
Yeah,
that the
Will
same
Smith.
one?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay. Because I wasn't sure if that's like I have to put my glasses on.
yeah.
Because
I I just want to let her
just to make sure. Because I feel
bad if I don't give somebody credit. Okay, oh please, and it is probably what you're saying. Mm, 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 mm. Okay, I saved it, but it's not. Please. Okay. I'm just going to say it's the same song because it's not coming up for some reason. Usually it's at the top of my
feed for on
Okay.
Instagram because I use it for
every Halloween related thing. But yeah, so
it just I like it. It's peppy and happy. And I never realized that was Will Smith. I thought
Yeah.
it was somebody else. Okay. I
Yeah.
thought it was DJ. You know what? I don't know. I'm old. I don't know anything.
Yeah, that's the one. And you can't forget about the Fat Boys with Are You Ready for Freddy? And that was a part of the Nightmare on Elm Street 4 Dream Master soundtrack.
yes, I like that one too. And
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I did just recently find a super creepy version of, and it's more cinematic of the jump rope rhyme, but it's done super slow and there are these long, creepy pauses in it. So I
don't know who the artist is, but
did it. Sorry,
Yeah.
artist. I want to cite everybody, but I'm not prepared.
I think Thriller takes the cake with Michael Jackson and Vincent Price. I know that's the big one, especially this time of year.
oh my God,
When Vincent Price does the monologue, it's
Hmm.
like
yeah, that's great.
Iconic. We're in the spooky season now. I wanted to relate this question just because you're a part of this huge legacy with A Nightmare on Elm Street. But what's the scariest nightmare that you had that just stuck with you?
Um, I used to have this nightmare that I was like in the bayou and I walked on this wooden pier
here and there's a
old wooden houseboat and whose back is to me, and he's in a rocking chair, and he's just rocking.
And I stand at the door, and it's the scariest thing that's ever happened in my life. And I've had that dream a million times, and I don't know
Who the man is, don't want to know.
don't know how I get in, get out. It's just that moment, and I find it super scary.
It's like Deliverance. The
It's
Bayou.
I know.
Oh
I'm like,
boy.
I know.
Amanda, is there anything else that you want to let your fans know about that we didn't cover here tonight that you have up and coming?
Let's see. I'm going to be just so if anybody's around, I'm going to be at Scarefest in Kentucky, the middle of October, and then I'm going to be at Steel City Comic Con in Pittsburgh the first weekend of December, and then I am going to be at the Sands in Cancun, Mexico, with some of the cast from Better Off Dead for it's an immersive week at a resort in Cancun, and you can look it up. It's on the sands.com or the sandsrock.com. And it's every band you've ever loved from the 80s and 90s and all the VJs from MTV. And so there'll be a group of us there just wandering around, hanging out with you and signing autographs if you want. And so there's that. And then, send good thoughts from the movie with William Butler. And
Yeah.
when we hang up, I'm going to go to the grocery store and get things for my nieces for their Halloween experience tomorrow.
Maybe some red and green sweaters or gowns like you wore in the first one.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Amanda, I want to thank you for what's that?
I was going to say, I need to start doing like an in-costume photo op at the convention.
You should.
Yeah. Do that next year.
Yeah. Hey, that's a new idea.
It was so nice to talk with you.
It was nice to talk to you as well.
Thank you for having me on.
It was a real pleasure.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you for coming on the show. I had a great time talking with you about your film work. Of course, Nightmare Night, Last Times at Ridgemont High. The Id, like I said, that's the highlight there for your performance. Maybe go check that out. Please go check it out. And you're always welcome on the show. Thank you to your agent and the manager for setting this up. And they can follow you on Instagram at Amanda Wyss. They can follow you there. And what's Twitter? Are you on Twitter?
I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky, but I really do Instagram. That's kind of where I just like it. I like all the pictures, and I don't know. I just find it easy. I'm on TikTok, but I don't ever post anything. I just like to scroll. I doom scroll. But Instagram, I post a lot. In the stories, I post a lot.
Okay.
Are you on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram. I posted the show, so you'll probably see it come up.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And where can they get your Blue Sky so they can follow you?
Oh, I think it's just Amanda Wyss.
Amanda Wyss Blue Sky.
I think it's just my name. You'll find it.
Yeah. Make sure everyone goes to find it. And Amanda Wyss, you're always welcome back on the show. Anytime you have to promote any new work, you're always welcome back on the show.
Thank you. Oh, if we make this movie, I'll come back on and you and I'll talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll watch this and see what William Butler puts together here, and we'll come back and talk about it.
I love it. Deal. It's a deal.
All right, Amanda, take care. Enjoy the rest of your night and enjoy the rest of the Halloween season.
Thank you, and you too.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye. Take care.
Take care.